Something that has driven me up a wall since I started consuming booktube in like 2017 to also when I became a booktuber and started doing this myself is our penchant to talk about the same 10 or 15 books over and over and over again. The books change, but the habit doesn't. New books come out and we only talk about those books for a year. I want to change that because there's so many good backlist books. There's so many authors that you might never have heard of. Everyone's putting out new books all the time and we only seem to talk about the same 10 to 15 people. And there doesn't seem to be much diversity in authors or diversity in books that we're talking about. So I have a stack of some secondhand books I got recently because we are also trying to be sustainable on this channel. And I want to talk about them because I'm excited about them. I'm excited to read them. None of these came out this year. So please don't click off. You might actually find something that you're really excited to try out and read that you might never have heard of if you didn't watch this video. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I am going to give a disclaimer that some of these books are well known, but they are secondhand and it's not something that I see everybody talking about, and they're books that I want to try and I think you should try too. So the first book that I want to talk about is the first book in a series from an author that I've read one of her books before. And this is Tessa Dare's Romancing the Duke. This is an author who is very self-aware of her romance genre. This is kind of like the Harlequin style, mass market paperback style romances. And this is a very self-aware series. Our main character in this wants a fairy tale storybook romance. And when that doesn't happen, now she's just trying to find somebody to marry. So that's what this one is about. The other one that I had already read is called When a Scot Ties a Knot. In that one, our main character has been writing to this quote-unquote non-existent Scottish soldier to stop people from trying to marry her off, like people in her family to marry her off. But she finds out later that that man is real and he's coming to find his bride. That one was hilarious. This is actually the first book in that series and I hope it's as good as the one that I already read. And I'm pretty sure I got this for free. After I bought a certain amount of books on Thrift Books, you get them for free, not sponsored. But yeah, this is something I'm really excited to read. These next three I'm very excited about. There's also a little bit of a caveat on this one because I screwed up. But these are the first three books in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. I believe it goes like this. So we have The Color of Magic, The Light Fantastic, and Equal Rites. This is again, this isn't a theme in this book haul, but this is another series where it is very self-aware. This is a older fantasy series that has many, many books in it, and you can kind of start from wherever. They're all interconnected. They have different through lines and follow different characters. There's so many different charts and things that people tell you, okay, this is the first book you need to read, this, and this is the next one. You should read these, but not these. These aren't as good as the other ones. I just started with the first three that are actually like numbered 1, 2, and 3 because I want to collect all of these books. The caveat that I was going to tell you about, these are very similar on the side. This one is different. I got the book that's from a different publisher. Unfortunately, I think I got all three of these on eBay, but I wanted them all from this publisher, but I do like the art on all of them. I just wish we would do fantasy book art like this still. Like, look at that. That's incredible. So I want to collect all of the Discworld books over a long period of time because that's going to be expensive. But I want these specific ones and that's going to, again, might get harder to source the farther and farther in we get. But it is what it is. And they're secondhand, so it's still cheaper than getting them new. Sometimes the older covers just hit different. I don't know. The next one is what I would call divorced mom literature when I am neither divorced nor a mom, and that is Wild by Cheryl Strayed. I got this in the hopes that it is everything that Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods wasn't for me. If you watched my hiking and reading vlog, I read A Walk in the Woods by Bill Bryson and absolutely hated it. It was very misogynistic. He didn't learn anything. Spoiler, he didn't do the entire trail. So it just really didn't hit for me, and I went on after and saw all these different reviews of people who felt very similar to me. But I've heard that this one actually is like self-reflecting and talks about nature and how it relates to her life. I'm pretty sure you probably have heard of Cheryl Strayed. She decided to hike the PCT, which is the Pacific Crest Trail, after her life kind of fell apart. I think her mom died, her marriage was falling apart, the rest of her family kind of scattered around the country, and she wanted to find herself. This is a non-fiction book about her hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. So I'm really excited to read this. It is not new whatsoever. I'm pretty sure even the movie came out over 10 years ago, April 2013. Not too bad, but it's still 13 years old. So we'll see how that goes. I might vlog it, I'll let you know. This one is another fantasy that I actually got the suggestion from Carrie Can Read, who is huge on BookTube. If you don't know who she is, but you know who I am, I'm very surprised. But this is about this woman who is in the Witchlands, and it's a continent that's ruled by 3 different empires, and they try to use these different witches to get ahead of each other. They're basically ruthless, and these empires will do whatever they can to get ahead of each other. So our main character is hiding the fact that she is a Truthwitch. She can tell if someone's lying or not, no matter what, and she teams up with somebody who is a thread witch, who can see the invisible ties that bind people, and they don't want to be pawns for these empires, and I think it's kind of like probably a revolution, probably overthrowing their government. This is just the first book in a series. So I am, again, I'm just going to keep saying it, really excited to read this. It's an older book as well, and I have only ever heard Carrie talk about it. So I hope that this ends up being good, and if so, I'm going to get the other ones in the series. These next 2 are actually kind of a sneak peek for one of the videos that I'm thinking about doing for Summerween. I did talk about them, I think, at least one of these in my Summerween TBR video, but I have Tender Beasts by Liselle Sambury. Now, I also picked up Delicious Monsters by Liselle Sambury at the same time. These are both by a YA horror author, and a lot of her books center around family, they center around grief, but it also has this supernatural aspect to it that's really exciting. Delicious Monsters isn't just one of the best YA horror books I've read, it's one of the best horror books that I've read. It was done incredibly well, and the only reason that I believe that this is YA is because it follows a younger person. That's not disparaging YA, that's just saying like that it follows a young person. And then Tender Beasts, this one specifically is about the oldest in her family. She probably has like oldest child syndrome where she's always in charge, and she very much is type A and feels like she can't do wrong or else her family will fall apart, especially since her mom was murdered. But at their school, a really, really bad murder happens, and her brother is accused of committing this murder. So she isn't incredibly close with her brother, but she does believe that he did not do this, and she has to figure out who or what did so that she can exonerate him, because she doesn't believe that he did it. There is evidence that he did not do it, and she doesn't believe that he would ever do something like that. The last YA book that I'm going to talk about, technically, is Dread Nation. This is by Justina Ireland. Our main character was born 2 days before the dead began to walk the battlefields of Gettysburg, and it derails and changes the Civil War in some sort of way. It's about survival, it's about politics. I assume we're going to go into the racism of the Civil War and the racism of slavery, obviously, and our main character is a young Black woman, so I assume that's going to have something to do with it. She's going to have to deal with more than just the horrors of the undead. That is also going to be something that I read for Summerween. I think these 2 books are going to be in a vlog of reading YA horror and seeing if they're worth it, so sneak peek for that. This is the only like new-ish book that I have. I think this came out a couple of years ago. This came out in 2023, so 3 years old. Sisters of the Lost Nation by Medina is about a young woman. I believe she is an adult. This is not a YA horror. Her reservation has some weird things going on. The casino might have some hauntings going on, and she also deals with a lot of bullies. And then her sister ends up going missing. And I believe this is a fictional horror take on the horrible things that have happened with missing Indigenous women. If you've heard of like the Stolen Sisters, that is a legitimate thing that's been happening for many, many, many years. And I think this is an exploration of that. Medina, I've read a short story by him and really, really loved it. Out of a horror fiction anthology that I didn't really love much of the other stuff except for his short story. So I think I'm really gonna like this. I'm excited and nervous, and I hope that I do. That's not going to be a Summerween read. That's just going to be a read that I do. I showed you guys this. This is not one of the books that I got in my secondhand haul. This I got when I went to the book loft. But it is part of a collection that I'm hoping to build of my Frankenstein books, because this is a young reader's illustrated version of Frankenstein. Very typical, like green Frankenstein's monster. And it's very young. The writing is huge, but I want to not have like a ton, but I want to have a nice little collection of different versions of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, because it is one of my absolute favorite books of all time and favorite horror books of all time in general. I think Mary Shelley is incredible, and the book itself has such depth to it rather than just being like an evil, mad scientist creates a being and then can't stand him. It's so much deeper than that. I'm not going to go into it because I could talk about Frankenstein and the implications of their relationship, Frankenstein's monster and Frankenstein, for hours. But I got this recently, secondhand. I got this. And then I also already have Mary Shelley's original 1818 text of Frankenstein. So we're going a little bit of a collection. I'm doing it slowly, but I think pretty soon I'm gonna have to have a specific horror shelf, because the last set of books that I'm gonna show you are going to take up a lot of room on it. This is also a sneak peek, but this is going to be for a series later after Summerween, and it's going to have some nostalgia to it. It's not just going to be this series of books, but these are going to be featured in it. And I have in this bag, this is a Meijer bag. No, I did not get them at Meijer. The person who I bought them from on eBay sent them in the bag in a box. I have 24 of the original Goosebumps books. This is my favorite one. One Day at Horrorland is one of my absolute favorite Goosebumps books, and I won't give everything away about what I'm going to be doing, but some of these Goosebumps books are going to be featured in series that I'm going to be doing. A nostalgic childhood horror series. So yeah, I have so many books, and for being like 20 to 30 years old, probably closer to 35 years old, these books are actually in pretty good shape. I don't think they're all from the same place, and some of these have like kids' names in them. That's everything that I wanted to show you. I'm really excited about this book haul, and I hope that it kind of sparks at least some people who watch this to try finding some secondhand books, try going back into your favorite author's backlist or authors you've never heard of. You don't have to read everything new. Again, I think I said this in the beginning. If I didn't, I love new books. I'm really excited to get Chuck Tingle's new horror book. I love reading stuff that came out this year. That's not what I'm saying. I want people to diversify their reading in the type of authors that they read, just people from all different types of backgrounds, and also diversify the year with which you read from. We don't always have to read books that came out this year. I am guilty of that too. But I hope that maybe I gave you some ideas of books you can read that you otherwise might not have heard of. So thank you so much for watching. You can take a look at my description for my Patreon and my Storygraph, which is free. You can support me by subscribing if you like my content and you haven't subscribed yet. And just stay curious and creative. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!